Hey.
Welcome. Hey, everybody. If you're just joining the show, it's officially 3 days of mustache on containers from the couch, and we're going to see how long we can go with this.
Is it starting to bug you yet?
Not yet, but it's going to happen soon. I know. It's honestly, it feels so natural. I don't know. Maybe this is going to become my permanent thing. I'm not sure. Time will tell.
Nice.
So anyways, for those that are familiar with the show, welcome back. We love having you here. But as far as those who have not seen our show before, we talk all things containers on AWS. And it's, it goes outside of just the orchestrators, ECS, EKS. We try to really branch out and talk about multiple facets of the container world. So, this week we did a lot of talking around CDK. So I think we started the week we deployed a queue-based Fargate service using a high-level construct, 10 lines of CDK code, got us a Fargate service that was ready to consume messages from an SQS queue. And then the next day, which was yesterday, right? Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
Literally days are blended at this point. Today could be Saturday for all I know. I'm not even sure. So yesterday we took that same code and we unboxed the beta function.
A preview. I think it's preview.
So preview availability of the pipeline support within the CDK. So the pipelines construct. And for those that were watching yesterday, I was able to get the pipeline fully deployed, but we had this circular dependency where it kept self-updating. Just an update on that. I figured out that basically it was because we were building the container image as an asset in the CDK. Every time it went through the build stage, it recognized there was a new asset. It connected the ECS service to that ECR image, and then it just kept going back in a loop. Anyways, so that was me, but we caught it afterwards. So
yeah. That's the beauty of doing it live, right?
Absolutely. And I'm sure we're going to have plenty of that today, because this is really something that I have not touched very much at all, because it's such a new release. I mean, we just released it a few days ago. And what I'm teasing here is the Terraform support with the CDK. So CDK with outputting your assembly code to Terraform templates and not CloudFormation templates. So there's a lot of benefits there. Brent, do you want to talk through some of the benefits?
Yeah. So when you're outputting to when you're outputting to CloudFormation, one of the sort of implicit facts is that you're talking to AWS. When you're outputting to Terraform, that opens up a whole new world of destinations that you could potentially be talking to. It can still be AWS, but it can also then be Twilio maybe, or Status Cake, or Kubernetes, if you're going to bring it back to something container related. Thank you. But yeah, you can totally output to, reach out and adjust settings, set up infrastructure in other areas besides AWS. So I think that's a really big benefit. What I'll be interested in seeing is the CDK has been around for a little while now, and over that over its history, we've seen the high-level constructs develop and mature and stuff like that. And now we're going to be taking a look at something that is ostensibly preview or beta or something like that. So what are we going to be missing out on? And what do we think that's going to look like down the road in the future? So with the high level constructs, I'm not expecting them to be as mature, but I'm wondering, what's the state of things there? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm curious to see what we find out.
Yeah.
By the
So
way, Satya says nice stash, and also, of course, welcome back. I know he's one of our regulars, so good to see you again, and thanks for joining. Uh,
yes.
Again, like usual, feel free to ask questions in the chat. So as we start to talk about stuff, if you have a question, definitely throw it in the chat. We'll pop it up. And then also, if there's like, we're totally going to run into some obstacles and roadblocks today. So if you see something that we, haven't seen yet, like there's an error or something, throw that in the chat. Tell us what we're doing wrong. So we're not above fixing stuff and acknowledging that at least I acknowledge that I write bad code for a living. So
Me too.
if you see something that could be better, then definitely throw that in the chat.
If you see something, say something is the message here. Okay. So
Nice.
just let us
Nice.
know. But it's true. We are not perfect by any means. And that's the fun in all of this. And I think, especially, you'll see that here with the CDK Terraform stuff. This is very new to us. But if there's one thing I'll say that I love to do, and I know Brent, I've known Brent for quite a long time now. Brent loves, like, whatever is the latest and greatest, hottest thing, Brent has to get his hands on it, whether it's a barbecue grill or it's a new technology. Brent is on top of it.
Hang
So
on. I think I have some discrimination there where I know I can recognize this is going to be big. I don't just
that's
jump
true.
after absolutely everything.
That's
And I
fair.
recognize that the CDK to Terraform is going to be big. There is a huge base of Terraform users out there that would love to have something better than just straight up HCL to write in. And, having a higher level real programming language that has real loops and real conditionals, is going to be massively beneficial. So yeah, that's why I'm really excited to see this. I used to write Terraform. I love Terraform,
Yeah.
and back then, there wasn't there was there were so many features that I was longing for, and with the CDK to Terraform, CDK then I would have that. So I'm really excited to see what we can do.
Yeah. All right. Very good. And by the way, I hope you didn't take that as a slight. I just meant it in a good way.
Oh
Okay.
no.
I'm the same. So, all right, let's talk about this. So if you watched us earlier in the week, typically when there's a new project with CDK, there's a process I go through. If you were here earlier in the week, if you remember, when I have a brand new project I want to start, does anyone remember what commands I have to run?
I know you bootstrap.
Bootstrap was good. That was one.
Init.
And it's CDK. And I was asking the chat, Brent, you were not supposed to answer that question.
Oh, someone answer for him real fast. Oh, there we go. Satya got it.
See, there it is. Okay, thank you. But yes, so we're going to do that same process here. We're going to actually run a CDK init, except we're going to do the CDK TF command line. So first, before we go into the terminal, let's actually look at, there's a walkthrough here. All these links we'll be sharing in the chat. But the first thing to just understand is the prerequisites. So Python 3.7, very specific. It has to be Python 3.7. I tried with 3.6. It did not work.
They meant it when they said it.
They were not lying. Sometimes, I like to just see, are they really, maybe they just said that, but no, they mean that here. So great, Python 3.7, Node.js 12, 16, and then Terraform. And pipenv, which is a really cool project that I'm going to be frank with y'all about. I never heard of. And it's basically a way to manage packages and virtual environments in one. Wow,
Nice.
really cool.
That's
Didn't
pretty
know this.
awesome.
So these are the prerequisites. I installed them all prior to this because if I were to do that here, there's a good chance I'd spend 25 minutes just dealing with package errors, and we don't need that. Okay, so just like you would install the CDK for the AWS CDK command line, it's just npm install. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do an init. So again, just like we do with the CDK, I have an empty directory here. Oops. I love it when updates happen. Okay, so you can see it's empty. So we're going to run cdktf. Let's just paste it. Init. We'll say template Python and then local. So this -- local is actually referring to the Terraform state. So Brent, this is another really cool thing about Terraform is state is managed. You control where your Terraform state is managed. And there's a lot of different options, right? So generally for testing, it's okay to do it locally. That's perfectly normal. But there's also, I can store my state file in S3 or other places.
I think what I used to do was store it in S3 and then manage locking with DynamoDB. And there were others. You could run console as a key value store, and would you store state in console? That sounds right. I remember I didn't do it, so that's why I'm foggy on it. But definitely there was a sort of HashiCorp native way to do it. Satya says yes, of course. That is definitely how you one of the ways you have to manage your state. And actually, if you just one of the contrasts with Terraform and CloudFormation is state management. So CloudFormation state is part of the service. You push up your JSON and the CloudFormation service takes over and it manages the state of things for you. Yep. This, on the other hand, gives you, a bunch of different ways to manage your state, and local is probably most appropriate for a developer type environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And so while Brent was talking there, I just answered a couple of questions. One, what was the project name and a description? And then as you can see, after that, it creates a virtual environment for me. It installs all the packages that I need to get my local development environment up and running. So this should be just a moment. And so what it's doing now is it's downloading the providers. So in a moment, when this is done, we'll actually look at the provider, how to set your provider, and then in your code, how to actually call that provider. But provider in this case is going to be AWS. But as Brent was saying earlier, provider can mean other than AWS, right? It could be Docker, Kubernetes provider. Like the providers are basically kind of, I want to say platform that you're going to build on, but kind of.
Yeah, I think of it as kind of the platform you're going to target. Because ultimately Terraform's going to reach out and make API calls on your behalf. So the provider is who it's going to reach out to.
Yeah. So, okay. So this is the output that came my way. And let's see what it actually gave me. So I have the pip file lock. But what I really want to look at right now is my main py. So if you remember with the CDK, generally the main is like this is kind of like your entry point to the application, to your CDK application. The one difference here that I notice is when I CDK init an AWS project with CloudFormation backed, it actually keeps main pretty simple in the app.py, and all my stacks and my logic and code lives in like a source directory or elsewhere. And then I import it to my main. So that's the only subtle difference that I notice on the init process. Nothing big, but I like to call out what I see. So other than that, you can see we're defining a stack. We have our class. We inherit the Terraform stack class, which you can see up here. We're importing. So this is just like, with the CDK for CloudFormation when I import core.stack, right? So it's just a stack which defines your environment, essentially. Okay, so let's get started. What do you think? Should we define our first resource?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so the first thing I want to do, and by the way, I have to mention that I did test this earlier, and listen, this is very, very beta, very new feeling, but there's a lot of good there too. But I just wanted to say it's beta because I had to read some of the code to figure out how to work some of these things. So that's just kind of listen, when you're working in a project like this, it's not GA yet. Just full disclosure, there's a good chance you're going to have to dive into the code to understand some of these modules you're importing and how to work with them. That's it.
Yep.
So, okay. So the first thing I want to do is we want to define our provider. So the provider I'm going to define is AWS, and you can see I'm importing that up here. So let's start with just defining my AWS provider. You can see I have all the nice code completion, with my IDE. I'm using Cloud9. And then we're going to just define our region. Oops, let's quote that. Okay, so we've defined our provider. So at this point, we're now telling the CDK that everything we're about to do is going to go to AWS. We want to deploy this to AWS. Okay, so let's do that. And now, just with that, I'd say let's run a CDK synth. So CDK TF, and I'm going to run a synth, which is going to, just like the CDK does, it's going to take my code, synthesize it into the lower level assembly code, which in this case is going to be Terraform. It goes to the CDK TF out directory. And let's actually take a look at what that looks like. You'll see here, we have our Terraform state file in JSON. So this is a Terraform state file. If you wanted to deploy.
So like you could Terraform apply this.
Absolutely. Yeah. So right now, all I've defined is my provider. So you can see it's pretty simple. As we build, we're going to see this state file grow. So let's actually define our first resource. Now,
just one observation that I find interesting is they're outputting in JSON instead of HCL. I wonder why.
My guess is, again, we're just guessing, right? I'm not on the team, or the person who built this, but my guess is there's just a lot of frameworks out there to work with JSON. Mm-hmm. Much easier to manipulate. Yeah. But I wonder if at some point they would give like an output to HCL as an option. That may be cool. Or maybe that is even an option now and we just don't know.
That's true.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing I want to do is define my ECS cluster resource. I'm going to build a cluster. So you can import modules here. This is something that I think is good to know, is you can import modules. And in Terraform, generally a module is what I would compare to like a high-level construct in CDK, in the sense that the module will build a lot of the underlying components for you, depending on what module you choose. And then you just pass in some parameters, and then it's kind of opinionated on everything else. I'm not importing modules. We're importing Terraform resources because we're just getting comfortable and familiar with this right now. But I think at some point, it would be cool to test with an actual module that wraps everything we're about to do into just one module, so I don't have to know all the boilerplate. Because right now, frankly, I have to know some boilerplate, and I don't like boilerplate. So that's kind of my thing. Okay, so ECS cluster, and what we're going to see is very similar. Containers, FTC. Let's just call it this. So this is going to be our from the couch. Okay, so again, passing in scope, and then let's define a couple things. We're going to just we're just going to name our cluster here, and let's stick with that. So we'll call it, I think I already have one, so I'm going to call it containers from the couch live.
Nice.
And so this is it. So I've defined my cluster. Let's again run a CDK tfsynth. Let's confirm that this will actually build my my Terraform code. And then we can look here.
While that's running,
going?
I know it's fast, but you like a barbecue? I love that name because I do like barbecue.
Yeah,
So that
that is a
JSON
good
is a
thing.
plan file and not a state file. Good point. I think we said state.
Thank you.
But yeah, definitely it's a plan file, but it's something that we could apply.
Yeah. So that's a very good point. Thanks for that. So yeah, so you can see here we have our resources, and we have our ECS cluster, and so far looking good with our name.
Nice.
So let's actually just get this deployed right now. So I can do a CDK tf deploy, and let's see this actually get deployed to our environment. I do again have a cluster up and running. This is an existing cluster, but what we should see now is a second cluster come up and should be ready to go. So I'll tell you right off the bat, the one thing that one of the reasons why I love Terraform is the speed at which it operates. So granted, I just created an ECS cluster, which is really doing a whole lot of not much, but it was still pretty darn quick. So is there a question in the chat?
Really just a follow-up. Satya says, apparently HashiCorp says use JSON if you're generating config programmatically. So that's just their recommendation instead of generating HCL. Interesting. I don't disagree. I just, they and I, love HCL. So I was just kind of surprised by that.
Yeah. So here's my cluster. It's up. It's ready to go. Containers from the couch live. So
nice.
That's pretty awesome. We deployed a cluster. Now let's add some more to this cluster.
Okay.
So let's get a service going. So with the CDK, generally, with the CDK CloudFormation, there's a lot of high-level constructs that will abstract a lot of boilerplate from us. In the case here, I'd probably want to use a module somewhere or some sort of high-level construct so I don't have to define all of these things separately. But let's start with an ECS task definition. So I'm going to deploy this. And again, I'm calling the ECS task definition module here. Okay, scope. So CFTC task def. Let me name our resource. Okay. So this is quite a bit. I'm going to be honest. I kind of want to just copy and paste this because there's quite a few values here that I'm defining. So let's do that. So I hope you don't judge me for a little copy paste action here.
It's all good as long as you explain it.
So that's fair, and I will do that. I promise.
Could you maybe blow up your font a point or two?
Not messing with me? You really want me to?
No.
I can do it. It's okay.
Now I question our whole history because if you think that's me messing with you, what have I done to you?
I know we talked about it earlier. I don't know. I'm sensitive. Sorry.
How big is that font already?
I don't know. And this is the thing. I always forget where to go. It's at 18. Oh no, that's terminal.
Well, that could stand to be a couple points bigger too.
Okay.
It's the same page, just further down or further up. I don't remember.
Is it? Where are you? No.
It's in there.
I'm scrolling fast. Oh, there we go. You're right. Told you it was on the same page. Okay. So now we're here.
Thank you. Much easier to read.
Okay. So let's move this down a little bit. Let's talk through what we're building here. So with ECS, and by the way, I didn't even say what we're deploying. In this demo, we're just deploying a cluster and then an ECS service, which is just going to be a basic Nginx Yeah, that's it. Just an Nginx app, like super simple, nothing fancy. So when you when you want to launch a container on ECS, you need a task definition. This is basically the way that we are defining what container or containers do we want to run as our task, and then any other type of settings we want to enable or add to that container to run. So in my task definition, for my container definition, this is where I define my actual container details. So I'm running the Nginx container. I'm naming it Nginx, pulling latest. Basically, I'm saying it's essential so it can have some elevated privileges. It doesn't need that in this case.
I think that's just, we'll know to kill the task if that one container in the task dies.
Okay. Oh, is that true? Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then we have, thank you, Brent. And then we have port mappings. Yeah, you're right, because what I'm talking about would be privileged. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have port mappings. So port mappings, I'm just pretty straightforward. Yep. Container port 80, host port 80. I'm naming the family. This is just naming basically my task definition and anything that gets deployed from a service perspective to be able to connect all the pieces of what lives where. Compatibilities, we're saying we want this to be a Fargate task. You could have mix. You could say Fargate and EC2, but when you do that, you have to then consider make all the components to make sure that they can actually run on EC2 and or Fargate.
Yeah.
So network mode is AWS VPC, and then just passing our resource requirements. So
Sathya says, is there no way to pass the container definition as an object instead of JSON in there?
So that's a great question. There was a module that I found where you can build a container definition through a module. I was only able to find it through the module. It's very possible it's here, and I just didn't see it. That's quite possible.
And we were running into earlier when we were trying this before the show, weren't we running into some this must be a string type errors?
Yeah. Yeah, that was exactly it. So I was trying to import a module to create the container definition, but it was expecting a string. I wasn't calling the right attribute from the module. So it was just, we moved it aside.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, there should be, and there probably is, and I just didn't have a chance to figure that out.
Yeah, I suspect there probably is too. And You Like a Barbecue comments that he does like that in TypeScript, that task def as an object. So yeah, I think that all of this ends up getting converted to TypeScript. So I'm sure that there probably is a way to do it. We just didn't discover it in time.
Yeah.
But we can, there's always room to refactor, right?
Yeah, exactly. And actually, after we get this deployed, if there's some time, let's look in the code and see.
Cool.
So here's my task definition now. So I ran a CDK synth, CDKTF synth. It now has given me a new output of the assembly. It's looking good. Let's deploy our task definition now.
Cool.
And actually, you know what? I want to change the name of the family. Latest. And let's see. All right, this looks good. So CDKTF deploy. And let's see how fast that goes.
I'm just CDKTF to me is so similar to WTF that that's kind of what I hear when you say it out loud like that.
It's fair. It's fair. And frankly, I just wish we could have one unified command line here.
Yeah.
So it did deploy. So now we have a task definition that's been deployed. Again, pretty darn fast. Like that's the type of stuff that gets me excited. So we do have, okay, so this looks like this is CDK that's being referenced here. This is not CDKTF. So, but that's, so basically what was just shared was from the CDK code. But that's okay. Again, and by the way, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't know which comment I actually popped up on the screen after the little code block.
That's cool. So it basically it just mentioning that there was a high-level construct or an object that we could create, which we are here, by the way. We're using the ECS task definition module. I think the question was specific to container definitions. Is there a module we can use? And I'm certain there is. I just wasn't able to find it. So after this, we're gonna do some diving in the code, and we're gonna find it.
Cool.
If it exists. Okay, so I deployed a task definition. If we go to ECS, we go to our task definitions. I now have containers from the couch, latest. So this was my task definition. It has basically my Nginx app, resources, port, all that good stuff that I defined. So very, very simple here. Again, I'm not going for something crazy in depth as far as a demo app, but we will at some point in our lives. So now I want to take the ECS service, and again, I'm going to copy paste, and we're going to walk through what I am deploying here, what I'm building. So following that same path, let's lower this. We have the ECS service module. So I am passing in my ECS cluster. So as you can see, I am referencing an attribute from my above created ECS cluster object. So that's cool. Very similar to CDK world. I have all these different attributes that I can access. I'm naming it. So let's just name this a little different, latest. So we know it's the latest service. I'm setting my desired count. I'm pointing to that task definition. So as you can see here, my Nginx task definition up here, which actually, let's change the name. And actually, let's do this so you can see it. Task definition.arn. So that's giving me the ARN for this task definition. And then we're setting up the network configuration. So this is a Fargate task. So we have to define what subnets we want it to run in, if we want to assign a public IP and security groups. As you can see in the demo here, I'm not creating a VPC. I'm just going to stick with the default VPC in my account. But this is where I'm passing in all these different parameters. So, I remember in the Terraform days, Brent, didn't we do something like, I forgot the command, but to generate the subnets, we had like some count wrapped in some other.
That's right. Yeah, we
statement.
had to like set a count, and man,
it was crazy.
It was so painful that I think I've blocked it from my memory. Yeah, it was.
Sorry.
It was amazingly bad. I felt awful doing it, but at the same time, like that's what I had to do with HCL and the not actual programming language that you had with have with Terraform. That's one of the big advantages that bringing something like this in can offer, is being able to have a full language that you can loop and do other things with.
Yep. And now I do know that Terraform has, over the past like couple of years, they've launched like conditionals and some loops. They've made it a lot easier to do that stuff. But still, this is Python, exactly. TypeScript, whatever you like.
So on that note, Experiers asks, so is there a way you can query these existing subnets by the tags, just like a data resource? And I mean, it is like you were just saying, it is Python. So surely you could import Bodo or Bodo 3 and then like reach out to the Python API, query for some information, and then use that information to further build out your infrastructure.
Yes, and there is also a way to actually use like the Terraform native like data source import. So two things. One, if I was building the VPC in my stack, or I was importing the VPC in my stack, I could access those attributes within that object. But there is functionality to do like the Terraform data source import. I just haven't done that, but I believe, yes, you can do that. And if you can't, as Brent said, whatever's not supported, just put a little, create a little Bodo 3 method that just does what you need. And then once it's supported, delete that code and use the supported feature. So
nice.
Anyways, okay. So this looks good. So we have our service definition. We have our task definition. We have our ECS cluster, and we've defined our provider. So at this point, when I deploy, we should see an Nginx service come up, and it should be ready to go. So first, we're going to do a CDK TF. Let's do a synth, and then we can look at the JSON. So it has some, I really like, I'm a big fan of these cool little icons in the terminal, the little, motion things. God, I can't even speak properly. But anyways, you know what I'm saying. So it's the little things that really please me.
Yep.
Okay, so we have our cluster. And one thing you'll notice, even with CDK in general, is there's always metadata attached to your resources. And this is just for CDK internal purposes. And as someone mentioned earlier, maybe it was even you, Brent, this code does get converted to TypeScript at the end of the day, TypeScript. And it's using the JSII library, which converts these languages to the underlying TypeScript to compile. Okay, so we have our service, we have our task definition. So you can see everything I've built, it's all in JSON. Cool, looks good. Let's get it deployed.
Is there a plan where we could see that, what's the diff?
That's a great point. But let's do CDKTF diff. I can't believe I didn't do that. I'm ashamed of myself. I should have known better, Brent.
Hey, that's why I'm here.
Man, thank you. I appreciate you. I really did forget that. It's silly. Yep, there you go. So nice. This is our CDK diff, which is like a Terraform plan.
Yep, exactly.
Right? And this was, by the way, something the CDK introduced. That was one of the things I loved so much about Terraform, was having that Terraform plan. And so just the CDK implementing that was great. But obviously, plan is native to Terraform, so we're implementing that here. Cool. So we're deploying a service. Let's deploy it. And what we should have is an ECS service that gets deployed. And you can see it goes through synthesizing. Now it's planning. And then now it's asking me, do I want to deploy? I bet you there's a require approval never, just probably. Like in the CDK. But yep, so you can see, wow, my God, I got to tell you, the speed of Terraform, it is so awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. So,
well, it's not one of the, it's not layering APIs. If you think about CloudFormation, you're talking to the CloudFormation API to tell it what to do so that it can then reach out to the ECS API. That's not what's happening with Terraform. Your Cloud9 console just reached directly out to the ECS API. So you're kind of cutting out a middleman. So it's definitely going to have some speed advantages there.
Yeah.
Victor Kimura. Yeah. Says, will this example's source code be available somewhere?
I will post this on my GitHub.
That's right. And your GitHub name is?
Adam J. Keller.
Oh, it is? That's a good name.
Yeah, it's my real name. I don't know. I probably should have done something that's not my real name, but I don't know.
That's all good. That's easy to remember. You'll never forget that one.
I think I'm going to go with Dragon from now on. Okay.
Nice.
So there it is. There's my web app. So I was able to.
Is that your old web app or is that the new one?
This is the new one. And let me prove it to you. That's fair. That you don't trust me. I get it.
Okay. I don't want you to do this sleight of hand thing.
We need to do some trust fall exercises in this group. That's all I'm saying here. All right. So here's my cluster. Remember, I named it live, right? Containers from the couch live. I am the real Adam J. Keller. Thank you, Richard Boyd.
He's claiming that one.
Richard Boyd in the house, ladies and gentlemen. He's a big deal around here, so everybody knows. Okay. So this is my cluster, Containers from the Couch Live. You saw I made that up. And let's go to my task. Okay, so we have my Nginx service. We're going to go to my task. And here's my public IP address. Okay.
Okay.
So this is no line. If you want, I can go to an incognito window, or maybe I need to go
Yes, do that
somewhere
too.
where you don't think I'm modifying my Etsy hosts or
Hey, paste the IP or send me the IP. I'll drop it in chat and we can all click on it.
Cool. That's good. Let's bring it down. No, don't do that. That's fair, but there it is. Here's my public IP address.
All right, incoming. Hang on.
It's exposed. But yeah, so that's a great point. Everyone can access this and
Let's just
have fun with it.
That's right. We're doing it live.
We're doing it live. Woo! It's not even like a fun app or anything. Like, so many people have like such cool apps to demo, and I'm just demoing an Nginx.
Yeah.
Really lame. But that's not the point. The point is Terraform here.
That's right.
Okay.
The point is we got our container running, and it was actually relatively easy, and we used a real programming language to do it.
Yes. Now I want to talk about some gotchas here.
Yep.
Because this is beta, documentation is limited. And as I mentioned earlier, like, let me show you the way I was figuring out how to. It creates this giant init file with all of the modules and everything you need for your particular provider. It's crazy. It's huge. So, see, there I go again. Okay. So what I was doing was from the imports directory, which is local, I was basically grepping for the class that I wanted to modify, and then just looking at what's being passed into that class and what resources do I need. Oh, I thought they said there is a doc site. Is there a doc site? I don't.
No. Yeah, there's like a limited walkthrough with the blog release, but right now I don't think there are any docs that are official. But I assume that'll be part of their GA, so that's pretty normal.
So and by the way, this is the this is like some of the documentation, just GitHub links. And on my GitHub, follow me on GitHub. I will be posting this code this afternoon. I'm at Pacific time, so in the afternoon I'll post this on my GitHub. I'll call it Terraform CDK containers from the couch. So, but here's just some of the documentation and then the blog post as well. But yeah, so anyways, going through the code, this is where I was able to figure out how to work with some of these modules. Now, someone had mentioned earlier, there's got to be a module for container definitions.
Exactly.
And I want to believe that, but let's see if it's actually true. So you can see here, let's search for container. Oh, I'm not looking for task definitions. So let's go back. ECS service. We're going to look up the task definition class here. Let me do this a little bit. Let's do it like this. Okay. So I can see here is the task definition class. And then if we look for, I already forgot what it was called, container definition.
Container underscore definition, wasn't it?
Yeah. So if you see here, look, it as we were saying, it just passes. It just looks for a string. So this tells me, at least at the moment, there is not a higher level construct available for that. So that's why I had to pass in that string JSON beautiful goodness. But is that true?
Yeah, I question. I get the version number, but is that the qualification for being GA as 1.0? I don't know.
I feel like semantic versioning says yes, but I don't know.
I'm not listening. I think that might be right. Richard says he thinks they use a different versioning scheme.
That's fair. That's fair. And obviously it's a joke. I know.
Yeah. But still, like, that is a good point that, we're basically 0.0.1. So
Yeah,
we're pre-docs.
exactly. So docs don't exist. And this reminds me of the days when docs were hard to come by and you had to just figure these things out in the code. So we're a little spoiled with the CDK docs, but I'm sure the documentation will be rich as this builds and gets better. But anyways, so there is no container definition module available to me, or I should say construct available, but there is from an upstream repository, and this is something I was trying to work on that I didn't get a chance to finish. Oh man, does this ever happen to you where you can't? Richard, Cloud9 support, please. I can't bring this down. Oh man.
Wait, really?
There we go. It's because I had the search bar open. I couldn't drag it down.
Well,
I'm gonna file a bug.
Yeah, Richard's standing by, ready to troubleshoot.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
There you go. He solved your problem for you.
Got it. Thank you. Oh man. Okay.
We love Cloud9, by the way.
We do.
Thank you,
Really
Richard.
do. Yeah. Thank you for all that you do. Okay.
So JCK Anthem says, is it any better with TypeScript type definitions?
It'll be the same.
I think it's the same. I think this code is generated, but I do think that it will get better with time. Again, we're super early. I mean, this was released like 6 days ago, so super early.
Yeah, exactly. And I do want to. So we imported. Wait, is there?
Yeah, can you pull that up? That looks. Oh wait, that's the path to Terraform 1.0. Okay, so yeah, not CDKTF necessarily.
Yeah, listen, Terraform is awesome. Okay,
it totally is. Yeah.
See, and Richard gets it. Click and drag is hard. I don't like clicking at all. If I can avoid the mouse, I just want to operate in a terminal. Let's maybe punch cards or something. I don't know.
We had punch cards in an earlier suggestion of what language should be supported. So I think there's definitely a need out there.
Yeah, I think COBOL support is coming in GA.
For sure.
That's a joke. It's not. I don't believe it is. Okay. Anyways. So what we did was we imported from the AWS provider. So we imported resources that are available in the AWS provider. In the Terraform world, it's very common to use modules. And a module is just like a construct in the CDK where it wraps a lot of the boilerplate for you, and you just pass in some high-level parameters, and the module builds all the boilerplate on your behalf. So you can actually import modules too. So upstream Terraform modules. So this is what I was working on earlier, was actually importing from this particular open source project where they actually wrapped container definitions into a module.
Okay.
And so what you do is to import a module. We have a little bit of time, so let's do it, man.
We have 9 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
Which is plenty of time.
I agree. Totally agree. Okay, so here we go. In our CDK JSON, CDKTF JSON, I define my Terraform providers, and this is automatically done. But here I'm going to actually do it as well, and now I have to remember how to import it. I actually wonder. Hang on, I want to try something. So there's a command CDKTF get, and I believe this will actually go look at my code and generate in my CDK JSON what providers or modules I'm using and pin them in my CDK JSON. Let's see if that's actually correct. How's it going, chat? Any other fun things to talk about while we wait for it to download?
I think Richard might be trying to trick you into stopping early. So
Richard, isn't there aren't you working on that Stream Deck integration? It looked really cool, by the way.
Yeah, it did. I definitely want to pop open my Cloud9 with Stream Deck.
That's amazing.
I've stopped. Okay, total side note. I work on a Mac. and I've completely stopped using whatever you call the bar with all the icons. So I'm all for being able to just like tap a button and open the things that I want to open.
Yes, this is how it should be. So I
Okay.
look forward to seeing that progress.
Side note closed.
All right, so we digress. Now it looks like it's still downloading and generating the providers because again, that init file was enormous. It was a lot of lines of code. It was so big that when I tried to open it in my IDE said, I can't, it's too much. So anyway, let's see if that actually changed anything. Is there a question?
Yeah, I have a question with regard to CDK Python. Do you have any tips to make sense of the CDK docs? They're definitely good, but I can never make sense of which one param is a list or an object to be passed.
Yes. So this is my life. And again, like I love the CDK, but there are times where I get a little frustrated with the docs. So generally the way I approach it is I will go to the overview of the module that I want to deploy. I will look at how they're actually doing it in TypeScript. And from there, once I understand how they're doing it in TypeScript, I will then go to Python and actually figure it out here. But one thing about the Python docs, and I kind of picked a bad one here, but it'll always tell you the type of object it expects passed into as a parameter. So it'll say if it's a bool type, if it's a list or a dictionary, or if it's another object. And what's nice about the docs is I can just click this here and it's going to take me to that module that that construct that I'm going to pass in as the parameter.
And
So
can you also, while we're on this topic, just point out your IDE integration and kind of how that works? Because Cloud9 and the CDK integrate super well.
they do. And I generally, though, just being completely honest here, I struggle a little bit with the IDE integration because while it does give me I don't have, it's not doing it here, but it will give me code completion. It will actually describe the construct and give me all the different parameters. I still prefer to go to the docs though, because it's easier for me to read those. But it's as long as you have your Python environment set correctly in your configuration in Cloud9 or whatever IDE you're using, like Visual Studio Code, you'll get that code completion, and it's super nice. It's super nice, but I generally find myself always going back to the CDK docs. I wind up living here. And granted, there are times these docs can be frustrating. If you find something that is not working as you expect, the CDK has a public roadmap. Go there, open a GitHub issue, say, hey, here's my problem, here's my concern. Can you help me? And if they can tell you, sometimes I've seen a lot of times in CDK issues, GitHub issues, they just tell you, here's the problem, go here, and then it's solved. So,
and by the way, just on a broader note, when you see those public roadmaps on GitHub, um, our team started that, and I'm super proud of all the work that it took to make that happen. And now a bunch of teams at AWS are doing that. But here's a not so secret. Those are all managed by the service team itself. So normally when you reach out to your support person, be it a TAM or you open a ticket or something like that, that goes through support. And I'm not saying turn this into your official support channel, but when you know that this is a question that is going to be easy for the service team to answer, or even better, you have feedback about how that service operates, and you want to try and suggest a change. Opening the issue on GitHub bypasses security and bypasses the solution architect, and it goes straight to the security team, and they can evaluate it firsthand. And they might follow up with you, and they might have questions about your use case. So that's a really cool feature that I think is super hard to find elsewhere. So definitely take advantage of that.
yeah. I like Richard Boyce. I struggle a lot a bit. Did I say that, or is that just something you said? Because I probably said that, and this is my life.
I totally missed that. That would have been awesome to make fun of you for.
But I could also see Richard just saying that to be funny too. So I don't know. Oh, got it. Okay. Thank you,
Okay.
Richard. Anyway, so I think at this point, I'm not going to be able to progress with the modules, but I just want to point out that, again, you can import these Terraform modules and then use those to define your infrastructure as well. So this is how I see like the high level constructs just being modules. And that's kind of how you avoid a lot of boilerplate. So I will post this on GitHub this afternoon so everyone can take a look. But honestly, it was really fun. I want to say the overall experience was pretty good. It's early stages, so there's a lot of sharp edges. You don't have the world of Stack Overflow to help you here. You don't have all the nice documentation to get you going. But if you're comfortable reading through some of the code, you can get started and start building on this. But I do believe in the GitHub repo it says this is not ready for production yet. So
yeah,
just
and
disclaimer.
it's really awesome to see where this is going. It's pretty obvious, I think, that this is going to be huge. The whole object-oriented model comes to infrastructure as code. I think it's going to be really cool, and when you combine that with something as awesome and an ecosystem as big as Terraform, that's going to be really powerful.
Yeah, and actually, someone had mentioned data sources, so this is a way you can like import Terraform data sources.
Yeah, Worry21, how can I find out if an AWS service has a public roadmap? I don't know an official way to tell you, but ask if you do have support channels, ask for the services that you're most interested in. I know when I was an AWS customer, there were some that I would have called key services, and then I used a whole bunch of other services. So that's one way, and then watch blogs anytime a service team launches a roadmap. They'll generally blog about it and stuff. You can always follow some of us on Twitter, and we'll tweet and retweet about that kind of thing. We think it's a pretty big event. So, but yeah, definitely watch for that kind of stuff.
Yes, and by the way, Richard Boyd, he's a, I don't want to say this incorrectly, but he's a developer advocate for like the code services. So like I believe like Cloud9 or our code pipeline and all those services. So reach out to him on Twitter if there's something you don't like, send him a nasty gram. Yeah. But anyway, I'm just kidding. But the point is that was actually really cool that he's here because he helps kind of talk through some of these services and support them too. So
cool.
We're here. I think we're done.
I think so. So did you recap already?
Yeah, I did. Quick recap again though. Terraform, CDK, we were able to define our infrastructure, deploy it. Brand new. It's really great. Still some work, rough edges, but it's getting there.
Tomorrow we take a look at CDKs, and we look at using the CDK to manage your Kubernetes deployments.
Yes, CDK week.
Right on. Thanks everyone. Join us tomorrow.
Thank you.